For me, a family party has never been a simple dinner, but a warm ceremony that I have watered with years of hard work. I'm Catherine Bennett, 42, and I've carved making every family feel good into the daily routine of life. Last summer, in order to hold an unforgettable birthday dinner for my sister, I devoted almost all my efforts, minus 30 guests gathered at our home in the suburbs of Minneapolis. From the menu to the on-site layout, I repeatedly polished every detail. The roast chicken prepared for the public had to be precisely controlled in order to have crisp skin and juicy inside, and specially selected the freshest kale for my allergic cousin's special gluten-free salad. Even the picky uncle, I tried 3 recipes to make a sugar-free cake to his liking. There is always my figure in the kitchen at 5 o'clock in the morning, the sound of cutting vegetables, the aroma of cooking, and the busy layout. I think this extreme intention can always be exchanged for equal treasure. My husband and son helped set the tableware. When night fell, the room was full of laughter and clink glasses one after another. The guests ate around the table, saying, "Kathy, you are so good at doing, and this taste is so good." The praise made my exhaustion disappear for days. At least I naively thought at that time that these praises were sincere. But I never expected that the smiling faces and compliments on the table were all decency disguises. Just as I bent down to clean up the messy dishes, thinking that I could finally take a break, my parents suddenly stood up, their faces as if they were dripping water. "By the way," said the mother's voice with undisguised indifference, "we have voted that from now on, you will not be allowed to interfere in any banquet in the family. You are too fond of controlling everything and tie everyone to your rhythm." My sister followed closely, with a gloating smile on her mouth. "To tell the truth, your food is just like that. It's too light and tasteless. If it weren't for your busy schedule, no one would like to praise it perfunctorily." Later, I learned that when the dinner was in progress, they would gather in the corner to secretly discuss, saying that I was making a fuss and pushy, and even mocked my carefully prepared dishes for not being on the table. The room instantly fell into a dead silence, 30 pairs of eyes staring at me, like a beam-jumping clown. My heart was hit by a heavy hammer, and the pain spread, but I still squeezed out a smile. "Thank you for being honest." The voice was so steady that even I was surprised. When I turned around and continued to wash the dishes, my hands trembled uncontrollably. Their words were like poison needles, and each needle pierced into my heart. A month later, without the family party I run, it's a complete mess. They call me every day to complain that the guests are dissatisfied, and the scene is out of control. I held my mobile phone, only feeling sarcastic and chilling, and my tone was as cold as ice. Ask the people who voted that day, don't they think I did a bad job? Will you forgive them, or will you walk away forever? Welcome to Tell Me in the comments section. I've always been the one keeping the family together. On my sister's birthday last summer, I took the initiative to host a dinner for 30 people at home, not just a party for me, but a mission to make everyone feel special. 3 weeks ago, my husband, Gregory, and I were sitting at the kitchen table, scribbling down the details. We emailed cousins, neighbors, and friends to confirm attendance. Cousin Diane texted her gluten-free diet needs, and Uncle called and insisted on sugar-free cake. I nodded and jotted down the requests, which I've done many times before, and know how to keep everyone happy. A week later, I threw myself into the preparatory work. I spent hours studying recipes, flipping through cookbooks, browsing websites, and finally deciding on the menu: roast chicken with rosemary, gluten-free kale salad with lemon vinaigrette, garlic mashed potatoes, and sugar-free chocolate cake. Every dish must be flawless, which is the embodiment of my heart to my family. I specifically called Diane to reconfirm her preference, and she was delighted with the salad arrangement. My uncle complained that he was worried that the dessert would be too boring, so I tried 3 cake recipes before finalizing them. I want every bite of food to feel at home and the love hidden in the plate. The day before the party, I went to the grocery store and pushed 3 shopping carts through the crowded aisles for 20 pounds of chicken, fresh kale, specialty flowers, and herbs. When I got home, I cut vegetables, marinated meat, and mixed batter until midnight. Scrubbing the pan made my hands rough, while Gregory moved out of the folding table in the backyard and joked, "You're running a restaurant." Son Nathan dragged chairs out of the garage and hung colored lights on the patio. Mom, it's so beautiful. He touched my fist and said. Their help kept me from getting too flustered, but the core leader of this party was always me. At 5 a.m. on the day of the party, I was back in the kitchen, stirring the sauce, checking the oven, stirring the sauce. My hands were stiff from decorating the cake. I barely ate and focused on the cooking time of various foods. At noon, I spread the tablecloth, set up the sunflower center decoration, and tested the playlist classic rock for the elders and pop music for the children. I checked the chicken every 20 minutes for fear of over-roasting. Gregory gave me a quick hug. Kathy, you are amazing. Nathan grinned as he folded his napkin. I smiled back, but my eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep, supported by adrenaline and coffee. After the guests arrived, the backyard was instantly lively. Neighbors praised the beautiful arrangement. Kathy, you did better this time than ever. Cousins scrambled for another chicken, praising the rosemary's excellent flavor. Diane stopped me with a plate and smiled brightly. This salad is simply delicious. Uncle cut a piece of cake, nodded and said, Not bad, Kathy, really good. Friends toast for my sister to celebrate, under the lights, cling glasses. The atmosphere was warm and extraordinary, with laughter, stories, and music. I shuttled between the tables, adding wine, pouring water, and replacing empty plates with new ones full of food. Neighbor Tom called me the genius who could get this all done. I nodded, but my legs were as heavy as lead. As the night got deeper, I was completely exhausted. My feet hurt badly, my back was numb, and I didn't sit down all day. Gregory noticed and whispered to me to take a break, but I shook my head and picked up a stack of dirty dishes. No one else offered to help, not Diane, not his uncle, not even his sister. They just want to talk, laugh, eat. The praise of perfect and wonderful is endless, but I feel extremely empty. I've been busy since dawn, pouring all my energy into this party. Nathan silently helped to fold the glass, sensing my exhaustion, but even with his help, I still felt exhausted. I can't help but wonder, does anyone know how much I paid for this party? I gave everything I could to make the night sparkle, but their indifference was like a stone pressing against my chest. Did they really notice the effort behind it? I stood in the kitchen, looking at the empty plates, as my sister's birthday party drew to a close and there were still some lingering guests in the backyard. I spent weeks preparing, cooking, and serving 30 people, but a heavy silence came over me as I tidied up the plate. Parents Robert and Patricia hovered by the counter, their faces tense. My sister came over with a glass of red wine, with a sharp smile. No one formally thanked me, which made me feel very disappointed. Even my brother Mark did not say a word of recognition for my efforts. As I wiped a large plate, my mother suddenly spoke in a stiff tone. Kathy, don't always think of yourself as the master of everything. I held the sponge and froze in place. My father held his arm and nodded. You were too controlling when you hosted these dinners. We decided that you will not be allowed to cook for your family in the future. My sister stepped forward and smiled proudly. Yes, to be honest, the food you cooked is too light for anyone to like. Her words pierced me like a knife. The kitchen was quiet for a moment, and a few guests glanced over at the door. Cousin Diane fiddled with her napkin and avoided my gaze. Mark, who was usually lively, kept his hands in his pockets and stared at the floor without saying a word. My son, Nathan, tightened his body and clenched his teeth at my side. My husband, Gregory, tried to speak, but I gave him a sign with my eyes to keep quiet. I didn't want them to see my vulnerability, so I nodded and clutched the sponge tightly. I know, my voice said smoothly, turning to continue washing dishes, but my heart beat faster and faster. The guests whispered goodbye and left, but their previous compliments, Diane's salad is delicious, and the neighbors, you're a genius, seemed hypocritical at the moment. Mark lingered for a while, tidied up his coat, and finally said nothing. I wish he'd come out and point out how unfair all this is, but he didn't. Nathan whispered, Mom, they've gone too far. Gregory clasped my shoulders tightly, his eyes full of anger, but I shook my head. I needed to be alone. After the last guest left, I went to the living room with a stack of plates to clean up the coffee table. I overheard my sister on the phone, but my voice was not loud but full of satisfaction. I just made a deal and made $10,000. She was pacing around the couch. Mom and Dad's 40th anniversary party is going to be bigger. I'm going to book a fancy restaurant downtown and never have to put up with Casey's boring dinners again. My breath stagnated. She was not only criticizing me, but also trying to take my place and completely erase my role in this family. $10,000 upscale venue. It's all about getting on top of me and proving she's better than me. I stood behind the door, clutching my plate tightly, my heart racing. Every word of her is like a thorn in all the painstaking efforts I have made for this family. That kind of pain is unspeakable. Over the years, I have been organizing birthday parties, holiday celebrations, and family reunions at home, creating countless precious memories for them. I thought they would see me as the core of these beautiful moments, but I was wrong. They only saw me as a servant, someone who could push away when needed. Mark's silence hurts me the most. He has always been my ally. He used to tease me about my overly exquisite menus, but he will always support me. But this time he watched them belittle me, but he didn't say a word. Diane's compliments, the guests' toasts, all seem like lies now. Only Nathan and Gregory were my dependents, and their silent support kept me from breaking down. I kept cleaning until midnight, and the house was dark, with only the kitchen light to keep me company. Gregory lovingly offered to help, but I waved my hand and refused. I need to sort out my confused thoughts in this mechanical scrubbing. I will never be the one that comes and goes, and I will never be wronged for the so-called family harmony. Nathan silently accompanied me, helping me fold the cup, his eyes full of worry. Mom, you don't deserve to be treated like this. I smiled reluctantly, but my heart has made a firm decision. At this moment, the mobile phone suddenly lit up. My mother sent a text message asking me about a recipe, as if the humiliation during the day had never happened. My father sent a message chatting about the weather in a relaxed and dazzling tone. My sister sent a perfunctory, "Party is good," with hypocrisy between the lines. I stared at the screen, without hesitation, directly muted the so-called family chat, and even hacked their temporary call rights. From this moment on, I will not respond to my mother's request, father's sharing, and sister's false greetings. I am fed up with this kind of unilateral giving and being despised. I want to completely cut off this suffocating tie and live for myself. The next day, Mark sent a text message saying we need to talk. I didn't even have the desire to open it and deleted the message directly. I'm fed up with being the kind of person they call to come and go, and I'm even more tired of using my own painstaking efforts to fill their indifference. From that day on, I completely took back all the energy I put on my family of origin and instead focused on my little days, attending football training with Nathan and spending quiet nights with Gregory. These undisturbed times made me feel relaxed and steadfast for a long time. Without my response, the family chat gradually fell silent, but for the first time I realized the freedom to break free from the shackles. They want to hold a high-end party and want to run it by themselves, so let them go. I will never accompany them, let alone go back to be the one who cleans up their mess. A month later, my parents called me. I was folding clothes in the living room. Nathan was on the couch doing his homework, and Robert's name popped up on the screen. I hesitated for a moment, finally answered, and pressed the hands-free button. Patricia's voice came first, unusually enthusiastic. "Kathy, we need your help with something special." My heart tightened. I knew the tone too well, which meant they wanted me to do something big again. Robert took the conversation and explained that their 40th wedding anniversary was approaching. "We want to have a family dinner like you used to have," he said. "The kind of warm and comfortable feeling that brings the whole family together." I almost laughed out loud. Warm and comfortable? After they humiliated me in front of 30 people, they still dare to make such a request. I leaned against the counter, folding towels while waiting for their next. Patricia's tone softened. Susan was supposed to be in charge, but now she's in some trouble. They finally admitted that their sister had fallen into an online investment scam and had lost not only 10,000, but also 10,000, but also 5,000 in debt. She refused to help plan the anniversary party, claiming that she was too stressed to plan. I clutched the towel so tightly that my knuckles were white. Susan, the man who bragged that he had made a lot of money and wanted to book a fancy restaurant, was bankrupt. The man who laughed at my terrible cooking and vowed to surpass me, now can't even hold a party. I should have felt sorry for her, but I didn't. "Why are you looking for me?" I asked flatly. Robert cleared his throat and said in a pleasing tone, "Only you can hold a dinner party that brings the whole family together. No one is better at it than you." This sentence is full of irony. They have taken my efforts for granted for many years. Now they need me to save face before they think of my good. Before he could finish, I interrupted directly with no room for maneuver. "You voted that I was too controlling, and Susan called my food light and bad. Why? Now you know that no one can replace me? Since she is so good, why don't you ask her to book a party at that high-end restaurant?" The other end of the phone fell into a dead silence. Patricia stammered in defense, "Kathy, we didn't mean that." I didn't even bother to listen to her nonsense. Nathan looked up from his homework and nodded firmly at me. Gregory also put down the dishes and gave me an encouraging smile. I took a deep breath, and every word was firmly determined. "I tell you clearly that I will never do your event planning again, let alone feel wronged for your needs. Clean up your own mess." Robert also wanted to pester and said, "It's just this dinner." I hung up the phone and hacked their numbers. Although his hands were still trembling slightly, but this time it was not because of sadness, but because of the determination after breaking off the shackles. This is the first time I bravely said no to my family of origin. This feeling of controlling my life is irreplaceable. That weekend, I decided to regain control of my life. Instead of fretting about a family dispute, plan a small party and invite only Gregory, Nathan, and a few close friends. No cousins, no neighbors, no expectations. I invited my neighbors across the street, Sarah and Tom, and my colleague Lisa, who has been very supportive. Gregory roasted burgers in the backyard, and Nathan was in charge of playing the music, mostly songs from his favorite indie bands. I prepared simple meals, grilled vegetables, fruit salad, and brownies made with ready-made mixes. No gluten-free special, no sugar-free cake, only our own favorite food. We sat around a folding table under the patio lights, laughing and laughing. Sarah teased Gregory's barbecue skills, and Tom told a lame dad joke that made Nathan sigh. Lisa raised her glass. "To Kathy, she deserves a night like this." I smiled, a warm heart. It's not as chaotic and stressful as the party for my sister. It's relaxed, real, and gathered by people who really cherish me. Nathan leaned in and said, "Mom, this is better than their party." Gregory gently took my hand under the table, and the love in his eyes was self-evident. As we were clearing the dishes, the phone rang, and it was a text from Patricia. "Please, Casey, we need you." I ignored the message and sorted the dishes with Lisa. That week, Robert called me twice and left a message saying that they couldn't have a wedding anniversary party without me, but I didn't reply. Their words that I am controlling and cooking is terrible are still ringing in my ears. I will not let them pull me back into that suffocating environment. Susan's failure is their problem, not mine. I focus on my small circle and cherish those who truly see my value. This time, I felt extremely relaxed, as if I had unloaded the burden of carrying for many years. A month later, their plan was completely ruined. After I refused to help, my parents tried to prepare their own 40th wedding anniversary dinner, and Susan was still hit by a financial scam and offered no help at all, leaving them in a hurry. I heard about the disaster from my niece Claire, who called me the day after the party. Their suburban Minneapolis home is a mess. Tables are stacked with half-eaten food trays, sinks are stuffed with plates, and hastily arranged decorations are crooked. They ordered a delivery meal, but not only did they deliver it late, but the food was not enough. The guests were waiting for the kind of cozy party I used to throw, and ended up making excuses to leave early. Robert tried to liven up the speech, but ended up cold. Patricia, who is always dignified, even flew into a rage when a cousin spilled a red wine. The dinner was a far cry from the warm family reunion they begged me to have. I didn't see it, and didn't want to see it. I cut off all contact with them since they last called and humiliated me, but the farce still got to my ears. 2 days later, I was swiping my phone at lunch and accidentally saw it in a family networking group, Patricia's post. Some people are just too selfish to help their families. She also made a point of at me. Catherine would rather abandon us than help us celebrate this important day. My chest tight. Selfish? For years, I've been throwing parties, cooking, cleaning up their mess, and now I'm being called selfish. I stared at the screen, and the coffee was getting cold. Susan and a few distant relatives gave the post a compliment, each like a slap in the face. At this time, I saw the comments of my niece Claire, who is only 20 years old and is always quiet at family gatherings. This time, she said sharply, "Aunt Casey doesn't owe anyone," she wrote. "After all these years of hard work, you never cherish her. Maybe you should reflect on yourself." I froze, and Claire's words took me by surprise. Then more comments poured in, with some cousins agreeing and others remaining neutral, but Patricia never responded. I can imagine her fuming at the screen, while Susan has been silent, perhaps because her financial crisis is too embarrassed to interrupt. I wanted to thank Claire, but eventually held back. Too much involvement only made things worse, and I've had enough of their farce. I put down my phone and focused on my life. That week, I was busy working on Nathan's school project and planning a hike with Gregory. We spent more time with our close friends Sarah, Tom, and Lisa, whom we met at our last small gathering. They never expect me to play the role of perfect master, nor will they force my approval. With them, I can completely be myself. One night, Lisa invited us to her house for pizza. We played table games until midnight. Nathan teased me for throwing dice too badly. Gregory smiled and said, "You still have the best party skills." Their warmth made me understand what a true emotional connection is. Meanwhile, my parents kept texting me. Robert sent vague messages saying he wanted to repair the relationship. Patricia left a voice message with a sharp tone. "I think you should see my post. We are so disappointed in you, Casey." I did not reply at all. It's not my fault that they messed up the party, and their public accusations prove that I made the right decision. However, Claire's defense has been haunting me. I sent her a text message without mentioning the post, just asking about her college courses. She returned a loving expression and wrote, "You are my favorite aunt." I smiled and put my phone away. That was enough. Without the unreasonable demands of my family, my life has become much easier. I established a new rhythm of life. Morning exercises with Gregory, volunteering at Nathan's school, making coffee dates with Lisa, planning a book club together. Family group chats have been quiet, and I don't miss them at all. Patricia's posts occasionally come to my mind, but I never check out the follow-up. Let them toss in their own mess. I am creating a better life, surrounded by people who really know how to cherish me. Their anniversary party went down on their own terms, and I'm not picking up the pieces for them again. A few weeks later, I received an email from Susan. I was sorting through my work papers at my desk when her name popped up in my inbox. Ever since her financial scam was revealed and her wedding anniversary party was screwed up, I've kept my distance from my family, seen her email, hung my finger on the delete button, and finally opened it. Her message was short but full of apologies. "Kathy, I owe you an apology. I have always been jealous of you. Everyone praised your thoughtfulness, the dinner you hosted, and your dedication. I want to surpass you. I was wrong." It's incredible that Susan would admit her mistake when my jaw tightened. But her apology didn't erase the humiliation of the past, and I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. In fact, I have long been aware of her jealousy, but when I saw her write it with my own eyes, I felt quite different. I didn't reply, and I wasn't ready to forgive her, especially after she called me a terrible cook and tried to replace me. I turned off my laptop and turned my attention to something more meaningful. I've been planning a charity event at the Minneapolis Community Center, a party for underprivileged children. It's not about pleasing anyone, it's just about giving back. I spent weeks coordinating volunteers, ordering supplies, and designing games just to keep the kids happy. On the day of the event, the community center was filled with laughter. I laid out brightly colored tablecloths, cupcakes, fruit strings, and sandwiches. Nathan helped blow balloons and tied them to a chair with a big smile on his face. Gregory brought in a set of audio equipment and joked, "Kathy, you're going to amaze everyone again." My niece, Claire, also arrived early and brought a box of donated books. After defending me online, she offered to help. "Aunt Kathy, this is great." Her enthusiasm warmed me, she said, as she laid out the books for the children to read. At the age of 20, she is learning to speak bravely. I am very glad that she can accompany me. When the children arrived, the whole room was filled with their laughter. We played chair grabs, painted faces, and handed out small gift bags. Claire takes the initiative to lead a group of children on a scavenger hunt, and her energy infects everyone. A little girl hugged me and said, "This is the best party I've ever been." I smiled, filled with satisfaction. That's why I do these things, not for praise, but for such a warm moment. During the break, Claire took my hand and said, "Aunt Kathy, you are the only adult I trust. The rest of the family doesn't understand you." I clasped her shoulder, too moved to speak, and her words carried more weight than Susan's apology. After the event, Nathan and Gregory and I cleaned up the venue together, folding chairs and cleaning sequins from the floor. The phone rang suddenly. It was a text message from neighbor Sarah. She also volunteered. "You made these children have a good day." I smiled and put my phone away. When I got home, I checked my mailbox again. Susan's apology email was still lying there quietly without reply. There was a hint of hesitation in my heart about whether she was sincere in her apology, but I wasn't ready to get back into the family dispute. I already had something more important: the genuine affection I had with people like Claire and Sarah, and the support of my family. My life became full and meaningful, helping Nathan prepare for college applications, taking evening walks with Gregory, planning a book club with Lisa for coffee. Claire often texts me, shares her college life, and asks me for advice. I like her energy and appreciate her courage to speak out for justice. Family group chats are always quiet, and I don't miss them at all. Robert and Patricia haven't contacted me since the party went down, and I'm not expecting to hear from them. Susan's mail was like a crack, but not enough to send me back in time. I'm tired of paying for them. My real life is here, surrounded by people who really know how to cherish me. When the next holiday came, my family of origin completely fell apart. On Thanksgiving Day, I was setting the table for a quiet dinner, accompanied by Gregory, Nathan, and Claire, when my phone rang and Patricia's name was on the screen. I let the call go to voicemail, but curiosity eventually drove me to listen to the message. Patricia's voice was hoarse and desperate. "Kathy, we're in big trouble. Please call us back." I put down my phone, and my intuition told me that this was not just about holiday plans. That night, Robert called me again. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. He admitted that they owed $20,000 in debt, partly for medical expenses and partly as a result of bad investments. They have been arguing incessantly and are simply unable to repay. "We need your help," he said in a low voice. "Not just money. We need you to reunite this family, and only you can do it." Patricia also pleaded on the sidelines. "Kathy, we miss the dinners you made. Those dinners made our home full of cohesion." I clenched my fists tightly, and their words evoked the pain of my past. When they called me controlling and allowed Susan to laugh at my terrible cooking, they didn't care about the dinner I cooked. I took a deep breath and said in a steady voice, "Ask the people who voted that day." I'm referring to their decision to throw me out of the family reunion. I'm not your problem-solving tool. Patricia gasped, and Robert quickly defended. "Kathy, we're a family. It was just a mistake." But I was unmoved at all, and hung up the phone directly, my hands shaking. Nathan looked up from the table and asked with a worried look, "Mom, are you okay?" I nodded, forced out a smile. Gregory clasped my hand, his silent support enough to calm me. The next morning I got a text from Mark, and we haven't been in touch since he was silent at his sister's birthday party. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you," he wrote. "I was wrong. Can we talk about it?" I stared at the screen, a tingling pain in my chest. Mark's silence was as hurtful as anyone else's humiliation, and I always thought he'd be on my side, but he wasn't. I typed the reply and deleted it. I was not ready to forgive him. The pain of betrayal had not yet dissipated. In the end, I still did not reply to his text message, just like I did not reply to Susan's email. I put all my energy into community work, planning more activities at the Minneapolis Community Center, and building on the success of the Underprivileged Children's Party. This time I'm hosting a winter clothing donation event for local families. Claire came to help, and I finished my coat and scarf. Aunt Kathy, what you're doing here is meaningful. Her trust in me was like a lifeline. As we folded blankets, we joked about her college dorm life, and Sarah and Lisa came to help, bringing donated clothes and telling jokes to liven up the atmosphere. The donation campaign was so successful that dozens of families got the clothes they needed, and the community center was filled with grateful smiles. A woman hugged me and said, "You're a blessing to this community." I smiled, and her words warmed me more than any of my family's compliments. When we got home, Gregory and Nathan helped me sort through the rest of the supplies, and we ordered takeout pizza to celebrate. Claire joined us, and Nathan made everyone laugh by trying to grab her pizza. "You are my real family," she said brightly in her eyes. I felt a surge of pride that she had voluntarily chosen me over the chaotic family of Robert, Patricia, and Susan. The phone was still receiving text messages from my parents. Robert sent a long speech about their financial difficulties and begged me to reconsider. Patricia left a voice message with a sharp tone. "Kathy, you ruined our family." I didn't reply at all. Their problems are not my responsibility. I focused on my life, planning the next community event, helping Nathan revise college application paperwork, and spending quiet nights with Gregory. After all this, I finally understand that I no longer need to seek their approval. There was laughter again in the Minneapolis Community Center, where I was throwing a birthday party for underprivileged children. Gregory baked hot dogs. Nathan led the kids in a game of piñata. Claire handed out brightly colored cupcakes. The children's smiles lit up the room, their joy pure and sincere. That's my goal in life right now, to create meaningful moments surrounded by people who truly cherish me. My family of origin, Robert, Patricia, and Susan, faded out of my life, and their absence made me feel relaxed instead. I heard from Claire that they were paying the price for their actions. Susan's so-called friends had left her after her financial bankruptcy, leaving her alone. Robert and Patricia were talked about as ungrateful by their neighbors for evicting me, and their social circles were getting smaller, and their reputations plummeted. I didn't gloat, but I didn't feel guilty either. They made their choice, just like I made mine. After the party, I packed the ribbons with Nathan and Claire and looked at them, and I was filled with satisfaction. "Never let anyone diminish your value," I said firmly, "whether it is family or others." Nathan nodded seriously, and Claire hugged me and said, "Aunt Casey, you made me understand that." Gregory came over and put his arms around my shoulders, his eyes full of pride. Sarah and Lisa also arrived to praise the event, with their warmth in stark contrast to their parents' apathy. I completely cut off all contact with Robert, Patricia, and Susan. I stopped answering their phone calls and answering their text messages. The phone has become quiet, but I like it very much. My life is full of meaning: community projects, dinners with friends, warm moments with Gregory, Nathan, and Claire. I finally found a family that didn't need everything and wouldn't question my worth. It was the first time I really felt happy, rooted in a community that really appreciated me.